We're
Hi,
live.
everybody.
Today we're talking about the chocolate war.
We interest you in some chocolate?
I got a Hershey's with almonds,
Yum.
specifically for the stream.
Did you say chocolate?
Anybody who is familiar with the book
Mm-hmm.
know that this is Archie's favorite candy. And they fucking
Yeah.
talk about it so much. It's like an entirely extra character.
No, it is. I was actually really surprised that Archie wasn't constantly snacking in the movie because I felt like that was so important in the book, and it reminded me of Elle in Death Note and how he's always snacking. And
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, is this like some unwritten law of like great thinkers that they need to be always eating sweets?
I think the reason is that they probably didn't want to pay Hershey's
Oh,
because this was the director's first movie he ever made.
mm-hmm.
It was super low budget. I think he said, because I rewatched the commentary the first time in like over 10 years. But I think he said that it was the production company that produced it. I think that was their first movie they did.
Oh, okay. So a
So
lot of firsts.
I think they were like, we don't have a lot of money. And I don't know if you noticed, um, at the bus stop behind them, there's like the Girl Scout like candy bar ad. They didn't do that on purpose because it was in the background. They had to pay Girl Scouts for
Oh
that
my
because
God.
they made a big deal about it when they found out the plot. They're like, no, we don't want this. And
Oh
I
no.
don't want to be involved in this. We had brought up that Archie has similar qualities to Miranda and
Mm-hmm.
Courtney from As Told by Ginger. And then you compared Obi to Dodie.
Yes.
And the more I think about it, the more I just like cannot agree more. I've never liked Obi in the movie, in the books. Like, I just find him really annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And you like mentioning that, I'm like, yes, he's totally a fucking Dodie.
The reason I thought it was because you meet him and he has this like non-committal resentment for Archie because Archie's so well liked and respected, but then he
Yeah.
still does everything Archie says and is like kind of desperate for everyone's approval, and he just does what he's told and he doesn't really speak up. That's why I thought of Dodie.
I also think, and I guess you could tell me if you disagree, I think they did a really good job casting Archie.
Yes.
I don't know any other actor that could have pulled off that role. And then I especially thought it after I watched the commentary and the like special interview that they have with the director,
Uh-huh.
and he was talking about how, and I disagree with him here because he said his only thing he was torn about was he didn't think he was good looking enough to play Archie.
The director said that?
Yes. And I'm like, I think
Um,
maybe it's just because he's so good at being Archie. I'm like, I fucking loved this guy. Like, if I was around back in the 80s, I would have wanted to marry
no, yeah, he's very good looking. I almost thought he was too good looking to play Archie. I was like, no one really ever said in the book that Archie's a babe.
He had said that when he wrote the script, he didn't give any specific things like, now Archie yells this or
Uh-huh.
Archie does that. He just had the lines written out. And
Uh-huh.
he just told him, do whatever you want with it. He said
Oh,
the only
wow.
direction he ever gave him was never let the other actors that you're like that are opposite you be comfortable.
Ooh.
Just always like make sure they're not complacent or too comfortable, do whatever you think to kind of like put them on edge like you
Right.
always are with Archie.
That's good
and
direction.
he and he just understood Archie so much that he said that he would of course have an idea in his head and this guy would always do it better, because like the scene when when Jerry's getting his second assignment to sell the
Yeah.
chocolates, he's like, I didn't tell him to do any of that stuff. And I had an idea in my head, and it wasn't what he did, but what he did was better. Because,
Yeah.
like, he's slowly, like, crawling more on top of him.
I know. Did he like sit in his lap at one point?
Yes!
Yeah,
Yes,
I was
he does.
like, hold on.
The fact that he knew Archie as a character so well, I don't think anybody else.
The gym scene where Obi's being like so dramatic and also like taking a jab at Archie because he's like, okay, I know Archie hates athletes and sweat and like any kind of excretion, which like I can relate to. The human body is
Yeah,
disgusting.
100%.
But in the movie, the gym was empty when they met, and then there
Yeah.
wasn't as much like how Obi comes in and he's like looking around like, "Oh my God, does anyone see me?" And then Archie's just like, "I'm over here," like totally ruining his like deep throat moment. Like,
And this is one of my complaints, although I get why it wasn't included. The fact that they mention that, like, most of the kids that go to this school are not religious. That their parents make them go to this school because it's perceived to be the best school in the area to get into college.
uh-huh.
And I get, like, that's not a big part, or it's not really important, but to me, as a kid that wasn't religious, I'm like,
Yeah.
because, you know, then you tell people, oh, I really like this movie, and then they watch it, and they're like, you're not religious, I don't know why you like this movie.
Yeah, because the first song is like the Lord's Prayer, like
Yeah.
remixed.
Our Father, who art in heaven.
And then you see Go With God in the locker room. Like if you don't know, you would think that everyone is like super into God and like
Yeah. And speaking of which, I love that that little thing, Go With God, is like right above the
I know.
And I
Yeah.
also
Uh-huh.
miss because I told you about it, the whole thing where Obi's pissed off at Archie because
Mhm.
Archie's like religion's bullshit.
Yeah.
And his whole thing about, because I think Obi says Jesus and he like
Yeah.
chastised him and he's like, well, like you say it, and he's like, well, it's okay when I say it because it's bullshit and I don't believe in it, but you do. So
Yeah.
when we go to communion that the school fucking makes us go to, you are getting the body, but I'm just getting this fucking cheap ass wafer that fucking
Exactly. Yeah, I loved that speech.
If anybody likes Obi, I want to hear it because I don't think I've
Mhm.
ever heard a single person.
And I like it cuz he's not written outright like unlikable. Like he doesn't actually do anything. But what I like about the book is even though Archie is definitely not like the good guy, you still really like him.
Yeah.
And he's not like a villain either. I remember what I missed from the book that wasn't in the movie. I can't remember which kid, but he goes to sell chocolates to this lady and she has like three kids and they're all
Yeah.
crying and like screaming and she's like, "You want me to buy chocolates?" And he says like, "The house smells like pee," and she looks disgusting. And he's just like, "Oh my God, I feel so sorry for adults that they have to live like this. Like they don't have any fun, they don't have any purpose. They just have to like
Yeah.
live in their apartments full of kids, smelling like pee." And then I also
Yeah.
liked, and they did include this, but not as detailed because you can't like read Jerry's mind, but when he's
Yeah.
talking to his dad and he's like, every day you say you're fine, like doesn't anything else happen? And he has this like moment where he's like, I don't want my life to just be like go to work, go to bed, every day's fine, which is like the exact same crisis I had in high school. So I really liked that part in the book and I wished there was like a little bit more of it in the movie.
Yeah. I know when I watched the commentary, the director touched on how it was hard to, because there's so many inner monologues between like Jerry and Archie,
Uh-huh.
that it was hard to like convey what like what they were saying or thinking.
Yeah.
Which is why he said he changed the ending. He said, like, he originally wrote it the way it happened in the book, but he said without Jerry's inner monologue, it just didn't, like, come off the same.
Yeah. The ending, when he changed it, it really threw me off because I was listening to the audiobook that last bit while working, so the details of the fight I realized I'd kind of missed. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, it's fine because I'm going to watch the movie, so I'll see that in the movie. But then I'm watching it, and Archie picks the black marble, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, am I in another dimension? It was so, so different.
Yeah. I do have to say, the director has not said this, but my headcanon, so the people say,
Mm-hmm.
is that he took a scene from the second book
Mm-hmm.
because, and this isn't really a spoiler because I'm not gonna tell you like what the whole like thing is, but there is a part in the second book when Obi switches out all the white marbles with black
Oh,
marbles to get revenge on Archie for something stupid Archie didn't even do.
typical.
So,
Archie's perfect. He doesn't do anything wrong. I love how much fear Archie effortlessly commands. That's like one reason I love him so much. When
yeah.
he's giving Renault his second assignment and he's like, "How many boxes did you guys all sell?" And they're like, "45, like 38." And it's like all bullshit. Like I think it's Obi who calls out 45 and he really only sold like 12. Like he doesn't plan it. He just knows like whatever I say, like people will understand. That's hot.
Yeah. I loved him from the first time I saw the movie.
Mhm.
Like instantly of like I like this guy.
Yeah.
And then I read the book and I loved him even more.
Dude, I think I see Star said is Archie the villain, and that's what I like about
No.
this story is like there isn't really a villain. If there is, it might be Brother Leon,
Yeah.
but then it's like there's no good or evil. It's literally just two people doing their thing and they end up at odds, which I feel like is how life is. So I love it. It's not like, oh my God, like Archie has this evil plot and like how could he do that to someone? Or oh my God, Jerry is like such a good person. Like thank goodness he's here to stop him. It's just Jerry's just like, I don't know, I just don't want to sell the fucking chocolates. Like I just don't want to. I don't care about it. I don't see why I should have to. And
Yeah.
then Archie's like, "Well, I said you would." So,
And the director has said too, because he said he was really surprised at the amount of backlash he got
yeah.
from changing the ending.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
He had said so many people were like, I can't believe you copped out and had a happy Hollywood ending. And
Yeah.
he's like, I don't think it was a happy ending. Like, well, Archie defeat or Jerry defeated Archie, defeated the bad guy. And he's like, Archie wasn't the bad guy.
The movie did a good job, and I think the book did a better job of showing how like Archie's assignments have this like subtlety to them where it's more about like the nuances of human behavior and how just like one small thing can be a chain reaction.
No. No.
And then Obi's is just like he has to eat snot. Like, my God, okay.
Like if you gave a 12-year-old power.
Yeah, exactly. And it ties
Yeah.
in with like Archie never wanting to use physical violence. It's like the psychology is what matters. Like little things. Like you have to do
Yeah.
this assignment. It's not personal. You have to unscrew all the screws in Brother Eugene's classroom. The one thing I'll say for the movie is I understood more in the movie why Goober was upset than I did in the book. Because in the book, I was like, what is Goober's problem? Like, it's literally not a big deal.
I mean, he was probably being a little dramatic. I don't know if I. Although, if you don't succeed, and then you have to deal with Archie's wrath, so I guess
Hmm.
maybe. But, the. Especially, like you said, seeing it, like, that's a lot of, like, fucking screws for one person to unscrew in one
Yeah.
night. So I can, like, see where
I'm
he would be upset. I don't know if I would be crying.
Oh, I didn't mean that. I actually
Oh.
meant like after when he's so upset about like brother Eugene.
Oh.
Yeah, and he like quits
Okay.
football. Yeah, that's what I meant. I totally get why
Okay.
he was stressed about doing that.
Yeah.
I would be like, "Oh my God, I'm going to
Yeah.
kill myself."
Okay, yeah. He's being a little over dramatic, but I think that's just his character because I think he's just one of those sensitive
Yeah.
boys that because if you pulled this prank that you didn't want to pull on somebody
Mhm.
and then they had like a fucking mental breakdown
Yeah.
and you're really sensitive, like I'm not, like I probably wouldn't care. I'd be like whatever. He was like, oh,
Yeah.
and it was funny. But if you're like super sensitive, like Goober apparently is,
Right.
then I guess maybe that makes sense. But yeah,
Yeah,
from my opinion, he was a little overdramatic.
I appreciate a sensitive person. Like, I think people should care. But also, I hated the way he dealt with it because he was like, "Well, I'm just not going to do football anymore." I'm like, "You're just hurting yourself." Like, now if you're, because he's so good at running, like, he loves it so much. I'm
Yeah,
like, you could get a scholarship. Like, this is your chance to, like, be somebody. Like, you could go to the Olympics and you're just sabotaging your whole life. And then when he stopped selling chocolates, he's like, all proud of himself, like, oh my God, I'm such a martyr. Like, I am such a protester standing up for the rights of Jerry. But then it's like, no one knows that he's not selling chocolates. Like, he doesn't say anything. He just is like silently congratulating himself for
yeah,
taking a stand. And then it doesn't even matter because they lie and say that he sold 50 boxes anyway. So I just
yeah,
overall was not impressed with Goober, and then his name is Goober, so it's like I don't see how I could be all that impressed anyway. I just really don't like that characteristic in people because to me it
yeah,
feels selfish. Like not everything is about you. Like literally Archie orchestrated it, Emil
yeah,
did it, Renault chose to go, and
yeah,
he's the one who's like hurt, and somehow Goober has made it where he's the victim in this situation. I feel like Goober would be the one who's like making those TikToks that's like, as an empath, I'm sensing that you're upset right now. What did you think of Brother Leon? Like, did you hate him or like him or what?
I I don't think I liked him as a kid
Uh-huh.
because of course you don't as a kid. I think now I'm just kind of indifferent towards him. He's just kind of there. I could live without him,
Yeah.
but I'm also fine with him being there.
I felt like conflicted about him because on the one hand, it's like you're just some like shitty teacher who's like blackmailing your student and like trying to like save a buck on this like chocolate thing, like trying to scam your way into more money.
This is more than a sale. It is a crusade.
But part of me like respected that he recognized like Archie has this influence and the vigils are there, and instead of pretending they're not, like you should
Yeah,
utilize that. Like I feel like that was smart. I liked him for that, and I just think
yeah,
he's kind of psychotic though, because it's like, what is the point of these like mind games that he's playing with these kids? Like accusing Bailey of cheating and then being like, look at you all, you
yeah,
went along with it, you're all bad people. It's like trying to
yeah.
pass it off as this like life lesson, but it's really just him on a power trip.
I know in the books they say, oh, Archie and Leon are like the same, and
Mhm.
I highly disagree with that.
Mhm.
I think that Brother Leon is closer to Obi if Obi had like Archie's intelligence.
I totally agree.
And in the movie, that one kid's like, "Oh, thanks for revising my grade,"
Yeah,
but that
yeah.
didn't happen in the book, and
Exactly.
that's a whole fucking thing in the second book.
Yeah,
The fact that he didn't change that grade,
I love
so
that scene in the book because it's also you're reading about the moment where a teenager realizes that it's not just like kids and like people, individuals who manipulate and use. It's like everyone forever. Like, oh, like you think Brother Leon is this like teacher who's gonna always do the right thing no matter what and give you the grade you deserve, but actually like wherever you go in life, someone's gonna try to take advantage of you if they can. And
Yeah.
you're like, God, that's true. I wish I had read this when I was a kid so that I would know how to like work in a corporate environment. Like in the first book, I think Leon, and in the movie, Leon just seems kind of like this, I don't know, like not, he just seems kind of like mostly harmless, but kind of an asshole. Like he's just
Yeah.
this teacher who's like enjoying having this power. And it's not until like the end of the book when you find out that he's watching the fight the whole time that you're like, oh, this guy's a little bit of an actual sadist. But yeah, Archie is
He
just, he says it, it's an art. He doesn't do anything where anyone gets hurt. I don't think he does anything that he thinks a person can't handle. He like hones in on
yeah.
their personality and finds something they can do that works for them. Like how he sees Renault get like destroyed on the football field, and then Obi's like, dude, he's just a kid, like he can't handle anything. And then Archie's like, you're so stupid, didn't you see how like he got wiped out and then he got up and kept going? Like he can handle things, he's not as weak as you think, you dumb idiot Obi. He also talks about how boring school is and how he hates it and he just wants to disrupt the day and like entertain people.
Yeah.
He's doing a service. Like he's a good person. I could see why the director was frustrated, but I also see why people would read the movie as like Jerry versus Archie when it's really more
Yeah.
like Jerry and Archie versus the school. And not like
Yeah.
the students in the school, but like the establishment, man.
I actually also don't like the ending, but I don't necessarily like after hearing the director talk about it, I'm like, okay, I guess. The first time I saw it, I was like, I fucking hate this.
Oh,
Why why is my favorite person being beat up?
right.
Why is he losing his teeth?
So is he losing
Why
his
is
teeth?
he fucking losing a spot over this? Like, he sold all the chocolates. Like,
Yeah, that didn't make sense because he did what he was supposed to do. I kind of liked, because I don't remember this happening in the book, but like the scene where the bus stop people confront him, that was not a girl in the book, right?
no, it was
It
not.
was like an older guy.
Yeah, I
I,
assume that just for simplicity's sake, he just combined that character with that girl that he had a crush on the bus, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I figured, and I kind of liked that though. Like,
Yeah.
I thought it fit in with Jerry's personality as a whole, like him kind of rebelling. So I liked that, but I did also like in the book how the girl that he's like so in love with is just this like random girl that he's never talked to and he only knows her name because he saw it on a book. And it's like, because I felt like that's such an authentic representation of like middle school and high school crushes. It's just like, I see you sometimes and you're so pretty and I've decided that I'm in love with you.
I also think it's funny in the book when he calls her
Oh, I know.
and then he decides that he actually isn't in love with her because she swears.
Yeah,
He's like, oh, like, no, my dream girl, she doesn't swear. And
I
it's like, shut the
know.
fuck up, Jerry.
That's so real. He's like, oh my God, like, this isn't the Ellen that I know. He was like, that's not her.
And I'm like, that's probably what a nerdy 14-year-old boy would think,
Mm-hmm.
but as an adult woman who
I
does
know.
swear, I'm like, get the fuck over
I
yourself.
know. I was like, wow. I'm curious. So why do you think he decided to keep not selling chocolates after the vigil assignment ended?
I assume it's probably just because, you know, those kids are like, oh yeah, you're onto something.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think the movie like focuses a lot more on the chocolates. And I think it's because you don't get those monologues in the book where it's like, or maybe I'm just overthinking it, but I thought the book also delved so much into like, oh, everyone just does this thing because they're expected to, and no one actually is
Yeah.
thinking about if they want to or not.
Yeah.
And I think Jerry is like developing sentience. He's like finally realizing like I'm a human being and like I have thoughts and opinions and I've decided that I don't care about the
Yeah.
chocolates. I think he's also like still really sad about his mom dying and how like lame his dad is, and he's just like, "You know what? Like I feel something when I don't sell the chocolates, so I'm not going to sell the chocolates." And that's that.
That's another thing, because now that you mention, I was kind of thinking that when I was reading the book,
Mhm.
that yeah, he's conflicted because his mom died like not even that long ago.
Yeah.
And he he doesn't want to end up like his dad, and he doesn't like how Leon treats people,
Yeah.
and he wants to just make a difference in the world and
Yeah.
be his own person.
Yeah, 'cause there's that scene where he comes home from football practice and his dad's just like asleep on the couch and he's like judging him and he's like, "What does my dad even stand for? Like, what does he even care about? Like, at least I've got football. Like, what does he do?" So I feel like I don't even know if he realized it, but it's like he decided like this chocolate thing is what he's gonna care about and he's just gonna keep saying no even if he doesn't totally get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was so frustrated. Like not super frustrated, but I was like, "Oh, I can't wait for Jerry to explain like what he's been thinking and why he's decided that selling the chocolates is meaningless." And instead he's just like, "I don't know, I just don't want to." Oh, you know what's funny too is after I finished the book, I think it was yesterday, I was watching The Simpsons and it was like them at Blockbuster, but it was called Lackluster videotapes.
Yeah.
Anyway, Homer's yelling at the cashier because he can't find chocolate Star Wars.
The computer says the movie Chocolate Star Wars doesn't exist.
And I was like, oh my god, it's the reference to the chocolate war that I would have never gotten. Okay, the moment I knew I loved Archie for sure is when Obi is like,
You know what, Archie?
What?
Life is sad sometimes.
Life is shit.
and I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah.
Archie gets it.
Gonna say, reading the book, I'd already fallen in love with him with the whole, like, religion's fucking made
Oh,
up.
that's right. Yeah. I forgot that part was first.
As somebody who didn't grow up religious, I've never been religious. It was so cool to me that there was a character that said that, because usually things either don't reference religion at all,
Mhm.
or if they do, it's like, oh yeah, God exists and God's good, Satan's bad,
I
and
know. The only other like kids thing I've seen that references religion without endorsing it was in As Told by Ginger
yeah,
when you find out Carl is an atheist. And in a way, if you wanted to get all film school analysis on it, it is a statement about how religion is used in society not as like a way to be like to follow the doctrines and be like, "Oh, I'm a good person, you're a bad person," but it's just like a business decision. Like this is the best school, so I go here and I don't believe in it, but I'm going to say I do when it matters because that's what sells. Do we have any other chocolate war thoughts? I think so. I'll say again, I really liked the book.
everybody read and or listen to the audiobook
Mhm.
numerous times.
Yes.
You should read the book once a year,
You should.
just like you should watch As Told by Ginger once a year.
Mhm. Just cycle through those things.
And you should watch the movie too, even just once
Yeah.
to see.
It's not super long. It's just like an
Yeah.
hour and 40 minutes or something, under 2 hours.
Yeah.
Shorter than the live action Aladdin.
Oh, speaking of which, before we wrap up, I did think of something I was gonna bring up.
Uh-huh.
That's the music that they play in the
Yes.
movie. when I was a kid, I didn't really think about it. Like the first time I watched it, I'm like, whatever, this is just songs that were made for the movie, whatever. And then I found out, like, no, these were actual like songs from like the 80s. And
Oh.
he actually went and got like all of the people's permission
Of course he did after the Girl Scouts.
to use their music, and there was only one person who told him no.
Oh, who was it?
It was David Bowie. Wanted to use David Bowie's Heroes at
Uh-huh.
the end, like during the credits, instead of Running Up That Hill.
Uh-huh.
And David Bowie said no. And he
Wow.
was like, well, I like this Kate Bush song, and I think it works just as good.
Oh my god, and that song had such a resurgence in the last year because of
Yeah.
Stranger Things. And
Yep.
when I heard it, I was like, this is what people should care about this song being in. Like, this is so much
Yeah.
better.
I thought that when I first, because I watched the season of Stranger Things last year,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, I've been down with this song since I saw
Right.
Chocolate War when I was 12.
I know I didn't want to be like that old person, but like everyone was like, "Oh my God, that Stranger Things song is so good." And it's like, dude, this
Yeah.
song is not from Stranger Things. Like,
That was my issue because I was like, I don't want to be like a gatekeeper, but at the same
right.
time, it's like people are thinking it's a Stranger Things song, and they think anybody who's like, I like this song, is like, oh, it's for you like that song because of Stranger Things.
I
It's like,
know.
no, I heard it like fucking 20 years
I
before it
knew
was on
about this song
Stranger
before you were
Things.
even born. All right, bye.
Bye.